121 straight days of Clippers talk. Welcome in. I'm Adam Osland. Appreciate you guys rolling with me. Just put the tweet out on X at follow Adam A. You can see underneath here where you can find me on Instagram, where you can find me on YouTube. Obviously, you might be here or on TikTok, or where you can find this cat. I can't work like this. Tuka, stop stepping on my keyboard. Why do cats love to step on keyboards? It's like as much as we don't want to step on a Lego, they want to step on a damn keyboard. And now they knock over my phone. Like, what? Freaking Jack Hanna's Animal Planet show. Like, stop. Tuka, please. This is serious work here. Tuka, did you not see the question I posed? Would you trade T-Mann? Some people. It's lack of respect that hurts the most. All right. Besides all the clawing. Speaking of the Clippers taking on the Lakers tomorrow night at Intuit Dome. Who will be available for that Lakers game? Well, Luka Doncic won't. So they will be down some guys. I don't even know if I should bother doing a preview for that game because the amount of guys who are going to be out for the Lakers, it just tells you this. The Clippers have to win that game. They have to win the season series against the Lakers. And they don't have Luka tomorrow night, so there's really no excuse. Clippers already beat them with Anthony Davis. They should be able to beat them without Anthony Davis, but do not overlook the Lakers because they don't have AD and they don't have Luka yet. They just won without Anthony Davis in New York against one of the best teams in the East in the Knicks on Saturday. And then they made a trade, and one of those guys that really helped them in that game was Max Christie, Cam Christie's brother. But they'll have Rui unless they make a trade before the game, which could happen totally. The Lakers are going to get another big man. Do they wait till after tomorrow night's game? Do they make the trade tonight? If something big happens, we'll be back here on Clippers Talk, of course. But they're getting somebody else, which is concerning. One of the big men that could be available, I will talk about here in a second. But if you're wondering why I'm not doing a Clippers-Lakers preview, I was going to have Kay Fig on, my radio partner from AM 570 LA Sports, but there's no stability right now with lineups, with rosters. We don't know if Norm's playing. How can I do a preview when we don't even know who's going to be available tomorrow night? So we'll get there when we get there. Pregame starting tomorrow at 6 at Intuit Dome. Let's talk about T-Mann. Let's talk about Terance Mann. Because last night I posed a question on Clips and Dip about a possible trade with Terance Mann based upon needs, based upon salaries. And while those guys disagreed with me about this, which is fine, they had very logical reasons to do so. I understand there are drawbacks to bringing in this particular player that I'm going to tell you about in a second. Real drawbacks. There are issues right now with Terance Mann as well, as in he's not playing much. And how is he going to be playing more? You know I love T-Mann. You know I've been a Terance Mann defender. Some of you probably called me an apologist whenever he went through early season struggles. But if you go back to an episode I did right before he was moved to the bench, I think when they were in Houston for a 2-game miniseries, right before he was moved to the bench for Chris Dunn, I said, Terance, it is time. You got to get it going. You got to find your shot. You got to find your confidence, or else, yeah, they have to make a move with the starting lineup. The very next game, they did. So I think I've been fair, balanced with my assessment of who he is. I think we've gotten more information and more data and more evidence on who Terance Mann is. And the issue is his ceiling doesn't seem to be as high as originally projected, because now he's 28 years of age. And he hasn't been significantly better since 2021. He's been good. He has been one of their top 8 rotational players. But then they made a move this summer. And they brought in DJ and they brought in Chris Dunn. And the first thing I said was, wow, is Terance Mann going to get the extension? Is Derek Jones Jr. insurance in case they move him? Then they gave him the extension after Big Zoo got his. I think because even if they do move him, the extension isn't seen as an albatross around the next team's neck. It's a team-friendly, cap-friendly extension, $15 million per year after this year for the next 3 years, just about around $15 million. But here's my question, guys. How is Terance Mann going to play significant minutes when this team is relatively healthy? Now you can say, how often is a team healthy? Okay. I'm projecting out to a playoff series, and I'm thinking about rotations and lineups, and I'm wondering if Terance Mann is going to see the floor. Now, maybe he goes on a great run. Maybe Chris Dunn is still out tomorrow night. Terance has a big game against the Lakers, and it starts to click in, and he finds some consistency out there. That's what's been difficult because he started off the season slow, and then as soon as he started to play better, it was the game against Denver that they won 126-122 at Intuit Dome, where he had 15 points, 2 of 2 from distance, a huge offensive rebound, where he eventually had a 3 in the far side corner. After the next game, he was out with that broken left finger. He was out for about a month. He came back, and at first looked pretty good. Against Atlanta, his first game back, it was Kawhi's first game. He had 12 points, 5 of 5, 2 of 2 from 3. And he was playing all right. The numbers aren't huge. They never are with T-Mann, but the impact was there. And it looked like Terance got his groove back. But while I thought he had a pretty good first half against Toronto, I don't know how many minutes he ended up playing in the second half, but he wasn't as good there yesterday. And the game against San Antonio and Charlotte and Phoenix, I didn't think he was great. And he only played 7 minutes against Phoenix. And that's what I'm talking about. He had a good game, I think, overall against Boston with his 11 and 7 assists. But that's because everybody was out and he played 45 minutes. Is he just an innings eater now? Is he just a fill-in role player if enough guys are injured? Because look at his past 5 games. 14 minutes against Milwaukee. 7 against Phoenix. 11 against San Antonio. Now, the last 2 he has played more. 23 against Charlotte, and then Norman Powell's out, plus Chris Dunn's already out, and he plays 26 minutes against Toronto. But my point is, if they're relatively healthy, I don't think he's playing over Chris Dunn. He can offer more offensively when he's taking those shots, but Amir Coffey's clearly in front of him, the first guy off the bench right now. DJ's obviously in front of him. He's a starter. Kevin Porter Jr. is in front of Terance Mann. Look at the minutes difference between those two. If Kevin Porter Jr. is the guy they're rolling with and they're invested in, and then they have Chris Dunn healthy again, hopefully soon. They have Norman Powell. They have Amir. They have DJ. How is he playing? And if he's not playing, if there's not a spot for him, if there aren't minutes, unless somebody is injured, is that somebody you want to be paying $15 million to over the next 3 seasons after this one? A guy who's only playing if 1 or 2 guys are out. Does that make sense? Kevin Porter Jr. is getting more minutes than him. So there are decisions to be made, I think. Now, it's not as simple as, yes, Adam, trade him. Yanni Tier said, Trading Mann is definitely a tough call. What level of player could we get for him? Bones in a first or a second? Or do we, for the draft picks, do we trade him for draft picks? I'm guessing is what he's saying. Here's the guy I brought up yesterday that you could roll the dice on that could really increase your ceiling, I think, if he's healthy. You tell me if you would do this. Terance Mann for Robert Williams, a center with the Portland Trail Blazers, formerly with Boston. Came over during the Drew Holiday deal for Dame, who then got rerouted to Boston. Would you do that? Because he makes about the same as Terance Mann. And I think there's a way to get that done. Now, first of all, would Portland do it? I think there's a chance they would. Because Chauncey knows him. He likes him. He was with the Clippers for a little bit. And Robert Williams has played, I think, 17 games so far this season. Let me double check on that. They're likely, or there's a decent chance they deal him. They could hold on to him. He's under contract for another season after this one. So Terance Mann is under contract for 3 more seasons after this one. Robert Williams, 1 more. And yes, he's played 17 games. He has started 3. When he is available, he can make a big impact. He is, to me, a starting level caliber center that just hasn't been able to stay healthy. He's a lotto pick in this case, a lottery ticket. If you get Robert Williams and he's healthy, that could really increase your ceiling because of need. Terance Mann, as much as he can help when he's right, and if the circumstances play out so he can get out on the floor, which means somebody else has to be hurt, sure, he's needed. He's necessary. But if you're banged up anyways and you're missing guys, I don't know if Terance Mann is going to be able to save you. Most teams that win chips don't have a bunch of guys injured. I'm saying best case scenario, if the Clippers are healthy, how can you increase your ceiling? How can you get closer to winning a championship? Well, maybe you roll the dice on Robert Williams. Is it better to have a guy that, if healthy, can really help you over a guy who's only playing if other guys are hurt now in Terance Mann? Because that's what it's looking like with him. Let me see what we got here. Shark in the Box said, no, not good enough. Not good enough for a guy that's not playing much in Terance Mann? Okay. I mean, you just said, Shark in the Box, Coffee replaces Mann. Coffee's getting more minutes. Coffee is starting. With Norm out, he's starting. When Kawhi was out, he was starting at time. Coffee is more trusted by this coaching staff than Terance Mann. And I understand why. You can write off him getting off to slow starts as it's just what he does to start off a season. But if it happens 3 years in a row, in the first 15 to 20 games, Terance Mann isn't looking like himself or his shot isn't falling as it has come back around on very low volume, I mean, you can write it off. Say, just let Mann will get it going. But this year, that doesn't work because he was in the starting lineup. He needed to start fast. He got demoted. He got bumped for Chris Dunn because he wasn't playing well enough. The numbers weren't good with him in the starters. They've been great with Chris Dunn. They've been great with DJ with Kawhi now. He struggled. So there was pressure on him to perform this time because he was really being pushed when you bring in DJ and Chris Dunn. And he did it again. There was no injury like last season where you could write it off as, oh, this is the reason Terance Mann got off to a slow start. There's really no excuse. He just started slow. It looked like he wasn't very confident out there. He wasn't looking at the basket at times, just looking to pass. And if that happens 3 years in a row, that's like total 50 to 60 games where he's not playing like Terance Mann over a 3-year period. So I can't just say, it's just what he does. That's not good. That's not great. There has to be some criticism there. Vincent said, I like it, but Robert Williams is never healthy. Miles Johnson said, heard Tim Cato say the Mavs had interest in Terance. I would look at Terance for Gafford trade now that they have AD. Yeah, but the problem is they don't have Lively. He's hurt right now. So I think they need Gafford. Lively's out for a while, right? Clay seems to agree with my reasoning about trading him for Robert Williams. Yawning Tears said, I like it for Robert Williams. Would Batum then be out of the rotation or someone else? And if so, would that person be in the trade then? Batum could just play less, which I think, if Robert Williams is healthy, wouldn't be a bad thing in the regular season. I keep bringing this up. I will continue to. There's a real chance in a playoff series against certain teams that Nico Batum could be starting at the 4, and they need him as fresh and as recharged as possible for a playoff run. I would love Nico to be playing less to save him for the playoffs, where then you unleash him, and Nico's a monster in those moments because of his length defensively, ability to guard so many different guys, and high basketball IQ and timely three-pointers. Did you see him for Team France? He was great. He was playing the most minutes on that team last year, guarding SGA last summer, guarding Schroeder. Nico's still got it, guys. Every time he has a bad game, people want to say he's washed. And it's like, I just roll my eyes. Ivanva says he has not been the same player since becoming a starter, but not in a good way. Yes, trade him. Well, that's not completely fair either. Because if you look back at the 22-23 season, where he was starting and playing point guard, in over 14 games before they brought in Russ, they went 10-4. Mann was playing well. I'm not trying to be overly critical of T-Mann. I love T-Mann. He's been asked to do so much for this team. He has been asked to fill all these different positions, a jack of all trades type. But is he a master of none? And if you have other guys who are better in a lot of those different skill sets now, with Chris Dunn being a better point of attack defender, maybe a better ball handler, probably. Yeah, I would say so. And then DJ being a better slasher to the hoop, being more willing to take threes, and being a better defender. There's two guys. Amir Coffey, I think Mann's still a better defender overall than him, but it's not significant. And Amir Coffey looks for a shot more. He's top 5 in the league when it comes to transition points per possession. He's shooting over 40% from 3. Kaylee said yes, because the skill set of T-Mann is obsolete. Williams gives us a much needed big. If Williams is right in the playoffs, you can match up with just about anybody. You have no more concerns about backup center. I'm telling you, Robert Williams is a stud. If you watched him in that Boston run in 2022 when he was playing hurt for them in the playoffs, like he's above a backup center. He could be a starting center in this league if he was ever consistently healthy. He is a perfect rim runner, rim defender, modern big. But the health is the issue. Is part of the reason he's only played 17 games this season because the same injuries going on? Is it still the knee? I've seen different things for him with Portland and his injuries at the moment. So he was recently sidelined. I think the Blazers are playing the Suns, or was that last night? And I want to see what the injury was. If I could get this damn cat out of the way. Tuca, please. Tuca. Oh, God. No. This cat bites hard. I named her Tuca after no Michigan great and Carolina Panther great Biaka Patuka. She's got the athleticism to. Oh, stop biting me. God damn. Guys. I have a cut from last night's show on my forearm that is like turned into a bump now. This cut right here. It's protruding out a little bit. It's swollen because she grabbed onto me instead of the armchair. She just grabbed my arm to climb up on the chair. Ugh. So Robert Williams is out with hand soreness right now. Hand soreness? That sounds to me that they are stashing him, which is what I said last night on Clips and Dip. Out with hand soreness, they are putting him in bubble wrap and getting ready to trade him. I don't think that has anything to do with his prior issues with, I forget which knee it is. It might be a right knee for him, or I'm just thinking of Kawhi. God damn it. No. Tuca. What's that old E-Bombs World guy telling people to adopt this cat and it just scratches the hell out of them? I'm that guy right now, that reporter. Stop walking. No. I just can't work like this. I didn't sign up for this. No. So people are saying I'd rather have Brandon Ingram or Kyle Kuzma. Great. I don't think you're getting those guys. How are you getting them? Absence said, nope, Robert Williams is finished in terms of availability. He's missed 155 games over the last 3 seasons. Robert would just be a cheerleader who can't get on the floor. I don't think he's finished. I understand that sentiment. I understand the pessimism and skepticism because of all his injuries. He is also in Portland and currently out with right hand soreness. I think they are purposely not playing him right now because they're shopping him. That has nothing to do with his knee injury in the past. Again, would you rather have a guy who, if available, increases your ceiling kind of dramatically? It's significant. You guys all talk about wanting to back up big, wanting all that. Robert Williams is it. He's better than DeAndre Ayton. You look at the advanced numbers between those two when he's on the court versus Ayton with Portland. Would you rather have that guy that, when healthy, higher ceiling, or somebody when healthy is riding the bench if you're fully healthy as a team? Because that's what Terance Mann is going to be doing if they're fully healthy for the playoffs. And if they aren't, well, they're probably not going anywhere anyways. So that's why I'm making this argument. Do you understand what I'm saying? One guy feels a huge need. It's a roll of the dice because of his health. Another guy, even if he is healthy, is not a game changer for you because he's not playing unless somebody else is hurt. And if somebody else is hurt, you're probably not going anywhere. He's not going to be able to, I think, flip a series for you, Terance Mann. I think Robert Williams could. Yeah, I know they just got Drew Eubanks. Rugby said, not worth getting Robert Williams. Others saying other trades out here. Sammy said, do you think Eubanks is expected to be the backup center or dealt at the deadline? If they don't get a better one, he will be the backup center. Some are saying Coffee is untouchable. Considering his contract, unless he was some sweetener in a trade for a really good player, I wouldn't give up on Coffee either. The only issue with Coffee is He's going to have to get paid after this year. Yawning Tears brings up something else. Guys, do you ever want Jordan Miller to play? Because I remember the vocal majority, when this season started, and I was one of them, saying Jordan Miller has to play. He has to play. How is he going to play? Terance Mann is there too, and the rest of the guys are healthy. How is he ever going to play? You have to make tough decisions. We roll and said I'd trade Mann for Sexton so we can have a backup guard and KPJ just be a shooter instead of hogging the ball. I don't know if KPJ is good enough to be considered just a shooter. If he's just playing off ball all the time, he had some good shooting splits from three on catch and shoots in Houston, but I don't think he's that valuable to the team if he's just relegated to being a shooter. Miles Johnson said, I already answered this, Miles. I don't know if that's the same post twice or if it's my fault. Kaylee said, there are people after Robert Williams. Remember the clip of Ime mouthing something along the lines of, we'll get you. Lakers obviously need a big. T-Man might not be enough. Yeah, it's like the people that are like, no, it's too much to give up. Portland might not even do it. They might be saying the exact same thing because they have a guy who's sought after. And I'm not saying Terance Mann isn't, because we had Lon Murray on and people have called about him. But don't overvalue T-Man or undervalue Robert Williams, because they might not even do it. You might have to give up more. That's how special Robert Williams is if healthy. Mark Jack, come on. Sammy said T-Man is literally just a glue guy at this point. The idea of Terance Mann every now and again having like 20-point games, we were talking about just average 12 points per game this season. That was the discussion we had regarding Terance Mann. He's averaging half that, 6.2, while shooting 46% from the field, 36% from three. And KPJ is getting minutes over him. So you'd rather hang on to that, a guy who's going to be riding the bench a lot if you're healthy, a guy who, even if he's filling in because somebody's hurt, is giving you those numbers, than the possibility of Robert Williams being healthy and raising your ceiling. Vincent said, T-Man doesn't play with enough confidence. Wise said, Batum is not going to be out of the rotation in all caps. Guys, Batum could take 2 weeks off, come back, and look exactly the same. They need to have him recharged and ready for a playoff run. Batum is a difference maker in the playoffs. You have to have a guy who's 36 getting rest during the regular season. Of course, he's great off the bench. Batum is great as a starter. He can do it all. Let's see. Some are saying no about trading Terance Mann, I'm guessing. Yawning Tears said in playoffs, Robert Williams, DJ, Coffee, Dunn, and KPJ is a super solid bench if Batum started at the 4. It is. I don't think people know how good Robert Williams is when healthy, and that's understandable. He's played like 220 games in the league over 6 years? I'm not trying to trade T-Man. I'm not trying to say T-Man sucks or anything like that. That's not the case. I am saying you could possibly fill a huge position of need with a guy with starting level center talent as your backup to Zoo for a guy who's not going to be playing if you're healthy. And by the way, if it doesn't work out with Robert Williams, worst case scenario, he stays hurt. He becomes an expiring deal for like $12 million next year. And Mann has 3 more years left on his contract. Unless they have plans of, Terance Mann next year is going to be more valuable for the Clippers. I'm talking about what can increase your ceiling while giving up I guess not giving up your first round pick. What's the most bang for your buck possibility? I think it's Robert Williams for this year. F said, think if you trade for Robert Williams, you end up in a tough spot next year deciding what to do with his future, especially if he gets injured. Not really. He's an expiring deal. It's not that hard to move. They just did it with PJ Tucker. Rugby's saying Eubanks is the backup center. That's the whole point of the trade. That was not the point of the trade. They got under the luxury tax. That was the main point of the trade. It was a money move more than anything. It gives them the ability to go out on the buyout market, spend $3 million more than other teams, and still be under the luxury tax. So I'm sorry, Rugby. Eubanks can be better than Mo Bamba, I hope. He's not a sure thing. He's not a significant upgrade. He's not a great backup center. Maybe he'll be better for the Clippers than he was this year in Utah or last year with Phoenix. Jeremy Mormon said Batum would move down to the 4, which is why I like him better. It would also allow Kawhi to play the 3. Williams is a better fit than Mann. Ozzy said Robert Williams' knees are made of glass. Sammy said T-Mann always looks confused when he's on the court. His face screams no confidence. I think the more we coddle him, the more we're neglecting ourselves in his career. I think there could be something to that. Like, they've invested so much in Terance Mann. He's a great ambassador for Clippers basketball. He's a great guy. He's a culture guy. He's a locker room guy. He'll do anything out there. He'll play any role, any position. All that's great. But if they're healthy, he's not good at any of those things enough to not consider trading him because he's not playing. Mio said he defends Luka. Luka just became a staple in our lives as an enemy. We have to hold man now and let him play defense. That's his role. How much is he going to play? I agree. His defense on Luka in that series was awesome. He held him to 38% shooting based upon matchup data. But now they have DJ. They have Dunn. Vincent said, I like Jericho Sims for that role. What's he averaging this year? He has been brought up before. He's not as big as Robert Williams. Man, he is not playing much. 11 minutes per game. 2 points, 3.5 boards in 37 games. What else do we got? Can we have a Tuca segment on Clippers Talk where we get her opinion? I don't know. She scratched the hell out of me, so maybe she doesn't like the subject matter. Tuca is against trading T-Mann. I'm telling you guys, Robert Williams is out with hand soreness. Hand soreness. They are shopping him. I gotta catch up in the chat. Quite a few people in here. Sammy said Mo has to be bummed because he was tight with Kawhi. Probably. Shark gonna say Zoo's gonna play too many minutes. No, he's not. He's not gonna be able to play 40 minutes a night in the playoffs, guys. Like 35, 36, 38, maybe. There's still 10, 12, 15 minutes out there. They're going to go small all the time. That'll work against some teams. Robert Williams will give you more options. Like, I don't know. I don't know this for a fact, but it may be a fatal flaw with this Clippers team not having a better backup big. Even if everybody's healthy, Kawhi's ready to go, James Harden's ready to go, even if all that is in your favor in the playoffs, if you don't have a somewhat reliable backup big to throw at Jokic, at Triple J, at AD, at some of these guys in the West, that could do you in. It did them in against Denver in the bubble now. That's on Doc Rivers for not just playing Ivica Zubac more, like he could have. Playing Montrez too much, who had just come back into the bubble against Jokic, was crazy. But again, would you rather have? Here's Daniel saying, I wouldn't trade T-Man. I get that is probably going to happen. I get that Ty Lue would rather give KPJ minutes. I mean, we all get that. It's literally happening right now. I don't know why I think T-Man fits in with any lineup. He can bring the ball up, but he's not. But he's not going to be playing. So you can say, oh, I'd use T-Man differently, and therefore they shouldn't give him up because if they did things my way, he'd be more valuable. Well, I'm living in reality of how the Clippers are using him. And I'm saying his role is being lessened. He's not as valuable to the Clippers now based upon roster construction and preference of KPJ. Sammy said, Adam is Drew Eubanks, the true backup big. I'm hoping he's just dealt somewhere else. If they don't get anybody else, he will be the true backup big. Would getting a Clint Capella that works well with Harden be a better option? I mean, that's not a bad point. That's not a bad point. He's not what he used to be. I'm trying to see his contract. I think he still has 2 more years on his deal, and he's making more than Robert Williams. Yeah, he's at $20 million this year, $22 million next. Oh, no, he's at $22 million this year. He is an unrestricted free agent. I don't hate it, but you're going to have to give out more salary. So if it's Mann, if it's Bones, Kobe Brown, can you get there that way? Clint Capella this season is averaging 9 points, 9 boards, and 1 block in 22 minutes a night. And per 36 minutes, that projects out to 15 and 14 with almost 2 blocks. I don't hate it. I mean, he's still only 30. I thought he was older. He's not the guy he was, but he does know Harden. This is what I've been saying the entire time, Stevie Francis. Stevie Franchise. If they're fully healthy, Mann's not getting minutes. So why not bring in a guy that, if he is healthy, he can be huge for raising your ceiling in Robert Williams? There haven't been any updates yet on Chris Dunn's left knee injury. Kaylee said the way the Clippers medical staff handles Kawhi would give me hope that even an injury-prone Time Lord would be nursed back to contributing somewhat constantly. Miles Johnson said, I agree with Adam, not necessarily for Rob Williams, but Terance has to be moved. Him not playing is going to devalue him even further. Yes, that's my other point. I said it last night on Clips and Dip. If he continues to not play, they're only going to get less for him in the summer. So I think you have to consider it. F said, I don't think you get good enough value for Mann right now. If you have to add picks with him for something, it feels like an overpay. They have a second to trade. They have 1 first. Obviously, you're not giving that up for Robert Williams, or I don't know if they're giving him up for anybody right now. Howard said, trade T-Man, yes, for the right player. Ballmer, Lawrence Frank, and Kawhi create a team free agents are willing to go to. Art said, what contract do you see the Clippers giving Coffey in free agency? I don't know. We'll cross that bridge when we get there. Saf said, yeah, I agree with you, Adam. We need Robert Williams. Some are saying get KPJ gone. Do you see it happening right now? Because Coach Lue is using him a lot. Giuseppe said Terance Mann will have more value when you can add the number 30 pick in June to him and get better return. I don't know about that one, Chief. Tom Rain said, I'll be at the game tomorrow night. I hope Clippers can make up some ground on the Lakers and the rest of the West. Me too. Thoughts on Patty Mills? He's probably not playing much at all. Go look at his numbers the last couple of years. Louise said, we need size and a scorer. Nikola Vucevic is the answer. Only 20 million owed next year. Yeah, except you're forgetting something very important. Nikola Vucevic is a bad defender. He's given up buckets on the other end. He's not a good rim protector at all. You're totally whiffing on part of the equation here. Someone's saying trade T-Mann and Bones for a solid player. Lizio said, Suns are listening to KD offers. Would you trade Kawhi and a second piece for KD? I don't think the Suns are doing it. And I only saw that from one guy, and it wasn't Shams or Chris Haynes, so I'm not sure I'm buying it. I mean, maybe it happens. Who knows? Luka just got traded for nothing. Howard said, with the timeline of Kawhi, James, Norman, Zubats, are we looking to trade most of the team for Kuz or Robert Williams? Robert Williams is the real deal. Planet said, if I'm Portland, I'm definitely holding out for more than Mann. And that very well could be the case. It's a hypothetical. Would you do it? If they would you? Frankie Boy 9 said, I believe in the Clippers front office, and I know they're not the Clippers from the past, and I know they want to win a championship. I just know if you have a healthy Robert Williams this season, that could greatly increase your chance of getting out of the West. Obviously, you need a healthy Kawhi. You need James Harden. But if you have all those things right now and you don't have a very good backup center, that could be your fatal flaw. Sammy said, I say take the risk. To me, it's not much of a risk. Terance Mann is owed more over the next 3 years after this than Robert Williams, who only has 1 year left. And he's not playing if you're healthy. So how much of a risk is it to give away a guy who's not in your rotation over Kevin Porter Jr.? F said, do you think the front office is committed to KPJ long term? Well, it's a 2-year deal with a player option on the second year, I believe. I think they're seeing what he can do this season, obviously. They're gathering information. Planet 619 said Derrick Jones Jr. turned out to be better and does pretty much everything Mann does. Yeah. I said this summer when they brought him in, when they brought in Chris Dunn, I thought, oh, is this insurance if they trade Mann or they don't come to the contract agreement on an extension? Now they did, and I think it's still a tradable contract, but he's more easily replaceable, clearly, because they're not playing him much. Jeffrey said, I think T-Mann isn't disciplined or lost motivation. The way he would attack the rim and be a spot-up shooter from three gave him so much potential, but it seems like he's just shy now. I think it's some of the same issues. He'd go through some of the same stuff that's happening this year in past years too. ZTV said, one player from the Blazers I'd replace Mann with is Denny Avdia, since he is so much more productive and can be another Luka. Be another Luka. That should be another timeout. Mio brought up a good point. Mann hasn't had a 20-point game since April 2024. I mean, Mann's always going to be beloved because what he did, 39 points, career high, game 6, got him to the Western Conference Finals. But we all thought this is somebody that is going to have a career where he's averaging 15 per game and he's getting 20 once a week. That is not panned out. I understand Robert Williams is not playing much, but when he's healthy, he helps you this much. When Mann's healthy, he helps you. I don't know if he does it all because he might not be on the court playing, even if he's healthy. How's he going to be in the rotation with all the guys that I mentioned? Exactly, Planet 619. Rotations get shorter come the playoffs. So how is Mann getting in? If he can't get in during the regular season when they're healthy, how on earth is he going to be in the rotation in the playoffs? Potential buyout market wish list. I think Lonzo, Ben Simmons. JJ the Boys said, I'd get Robert Williams. We'd have the physicality to beat the Thunder and Rockets. If he's healthy, yeah. Difference is, if he's healthy, you got all the physicality you need. If Mann is healthy, Well, he's likely not even playing. I, I don't think it's much of a risk. Art H said, I'm hearing that Phoenix is willing to attach a first round pick with Nurkic to be dealt. Would you do that? Yeah. But for who? You're saying for Mann? Shark in the Box is still screaming in all caps. Mann's contract of $15 million through 2028 is going to be nice and cheap. Not if he's not playing. A $15 million per year guy not playing doesn't help you. One guy can't help you if he's injured. One guy can't help you if he's not injured and healthy because you don't have enough time on the court for him. I'm going with the guy who, if is healthy, can absolutely be a huge get and difference maker. Chris Boucher and Robert Williams would be nice. Give up T-Man, Bones, KPJ Brown. See, the thing is, when people say, like, give up 4 guys, that means the team that is bringing those guys in have to cut 3 dudes. Like, they're giving out 1, they're bringing in 4. They have to cut 3 guys. It's not that simple. Get off trade machine. That guy Spencer said, fanboying aside, I love T-Man, but his ceiling is hit, and we have enough guys that play his position, and he's been played off the floor in terms of rotation. Protect Zoo at all costs. Get the backup big. That's the other thing. You get a good backup big, Ivica Zubats. You get a better version of him because he doesn't get worn down from having to play so many minutes because you don't have a guy that Coach Lue trusts, which is what has been happening with Mo Bamba. Will he trust Drew Eubanks? I don't know. I know he'll give him a shot. That backup big that is reliable by the coaching staff also elevates one of your best players in Ivica Zubats because he'll be fresher out there. Young Tier said, does Portland have a need, a desire for a player like Mann? I'm guessing Chauncey Billups likes him. I don't know what the front office is thinking. I would guess that they would like him in this way. Like, they need more culture building type of guys there who are relatively young. He's 28. He's just entering his prime. I think he could be useful in that way for them. But yeah, you might have to give up more. I'm just throwing the hypothetical out there because I threw it out last night on C&D, and the guys disagreed with me. And I get it. They are looking at how many games Robert Williams has played, and it's totally valid. JJ the Boys said we have to think about Dallas starting 5 as well with AD and Lively. There are some teams with size in the West. Freck Hefner said, so now you want to trade Terance, and I've been saying this. He never turned into anything for us. I don't want to trade anyone, but I think it makes sense. It's team over player. That's where I come from. Yeah, Boucher is shooting well. But guys, did you see him in the game yesterday? He's a string bean. He's Keon Clark. Like, he's so thin. I don't know how much he can help you against some of the true bigs in the West. Any chance we flipped Eubanks and Mann for a bigger contract? Big? Maybe. Wayne said, I never know when you come on YouTube, Adam. Don't see an alarm to notify me. Let's get a biggie. Baby. No need for a guard since our bench backcourt can't crack the starting lineup. Click the notification button. And if you guys could, hit the like button. But yeah, if you click the notification button, the alarm button on YouTube, you should be good anytime I go live. Jeffrey said I'd trade Norm, Derek Jones Jr., etc. for Giannis. Great. They're not going to. As long as we keep Kawhi, Harden, Sue, and Dunn. These are the trade requests that are so unproductive. I wish I didn't even read this. Cool. I'm sure you would trade those guys for Giannis. There's no way in hell Nico Harrison is not the GM also for the Milwaukee Bucks. Can we bring some trades that are relatively realistic here? Yanni Tier said, I think getting Robert Williams may only slightly raise our ceiling, but it definitely raises our floor. If you think Robert Williams healthy only slightly raises their ceiling, man, I don't think you've seen enough tape of him. Him healthy is the best back. He's better than Gafford healthy. He's probably the best backup big in the league. I'm telling you, he's a starting level talent center. It's only about health, nothing else. He's better than Ayton when he's out there on the court. Look at the splits. Freck Hefner said, I'm going to be honest with you, Adam. I don't think we're going to make another trade. On last night's show, I brought up the three most likely things the Clippers do. One of them does include trading T-Mann. That's probably at the back end here of the three. I'll go from most likely to least likely moves the Clippers make before the trade deadline at 12 p.m. Pacific time Thursday. Most likely, they trade Bones Highland for something, not much. Maybe you get a second. I doubt it. Right behind that is getting somebody on the buyout market. I mean, those two things, it might even be in front of Bones Highland being traded. And then third, with some distance between those two things and this next thing, is them trading Terance Mann. Bobby Portis is not. Why would they trade Bobby Portis? Why would Milwaukee trade him? How come you don't allow people to come on the panel and talk as fans? Well, one, because of some of the trade requests in here are not going to make anyone not going to make everyone happy. Two, I wouldn't even know how to do that. Three, you can start your own YouTube channel. My guy. F said, breaking. Tuca vetoed the Terance Mann trade. Tuca, why would you do that? Let's see. Of course, LeBron has a no trade clause. It's just him and Bradley Beal. Runner Flash said people are saying Terance Mann first, 2029 pick swap, and 2031 first for Cam Thomas. What you think? I wouldn't do it. I'm not giving up the 2031 first for that. I don't think. I like Cam Thomas, and we've seen him cook the Clippers, but no, I wouldn't do it. How about Claxton? I don't know if they could get Claxton. I think they have a better shot at Robert Williams. The Lakers are probably getting Claxton. What else do we got here? See, Jeffrey is just like throwing out. We need an athletic power forward or a backup that can stretch the floor. Well, first of all, they need a power forward who could also stretch the floor. Any guy, a backup big, you don't need to stretch the floor. For instance, Mo Bamba. They didn't need his 3-point shooting. What you need in a backup big is rim protection and rim running ability. That's really all you need. If you're trying to play him next to Ivica Zubac, yeah, you need somebody that can stretch the floor and is also athletic enough to guard on the perimeter. Those guys are really expensive. Why aren't we talking about Nikola Vucevic? Because he's a terrible defender. Let's see. Rugby said, hope KPJ is getting his trade value up and then getting dealt. What else do we got here? There's no breaking news, is there? No, I had to double check that because I'm behind in the chat. So if there was, I'd be way behind. KPJ does have a higher ceiling than Terance Mann, but Terance Mann is more stable player, reliable player, consistent player also. If it was up to me, I'd have T-Mann and Chris Dunn as your backup ball handlers and call it a day over KPJ because I just don't trust his basketball IQ and playmaking ability in crunch time or in the playoffs. But he has been playing better, and I understand why they're doing it. See, reducing Mann to just that 39-point game also isn't fair. F said, what's the probability Patty Mills plays a game as a Clipper? Saw he picked 88 as his jersey number. I'll put it at 20%. Reason said, I would trade anyone on the team at this point as long as it was setting us up for success in the future. Reason, be reasoning. Stevie Franchise said, we need a score. I'm comfortable with only having Zoo and Batum playing small ball 5. There's some bigs out there in the West. How do we feel about Lonzo? He's a better option than KPJ off the bench, but his injury record scares me. It scares me too, but if you get him on the buyout market, that's not a lot of risk. Bulls are shopping Ball for a second-round pick. Do we know who they cut? Because they had to cut 2 guys or buy out 2 guys after that 3-way trade. Nick Z said Drew Eubanks is better than Capella, in my opinion. Really? I haven't heard anybody say that. F said, no way teams can afford more than mid-level exception for coffee, which Clippers definitely match. 6 Abs said it would be painful, but I say do it. Robert Williams will fit good, plus the guy was once in an all-defensive second team. He will raise our ceiling. Robert Williams, really damn good when healthy. Gene said, I'm a huge T-Mann fan, but his progression has been kind of disappointing. He's becoming more and more redundant on this team, and he might yield the best return in a trade. Considering guys that you could afford to give up, and that's no disrespect to Terance Mann, but they have a lot of guys that can do what he does and guys that do it better. Otherwise, he wouldn't be out of the rotation so much. Of assets, of guys other teams are interested in, and the Clippers could afford to lose, I think Terance Mann is at the front of the line. Rugby said Patty's numbers are not good because of a lack of consistent role. He showed in the Olympics he still got it. If he gets 15 minutes a night, he'll be good. I'm sure of it. Let me know how that goes. Runner Flash said, if we can trade for Claxton, but I would at least see his trade value. Steve said, can that extra money from the Eubanks trade be used towards buyouts? If so, who do you think the team would go after? Just saw Duarte and Torrey Craig got waived as well. Ooh. That happened? I mean, they have money to go after buyouts. So are those the Bulls then that got waived? And Torrey Craig was shooting 43% this year. He's only played 9 games. Injured? Gene said, give me Lonzo and Time Lord. I mean, I'd say that would be a pretty successful trade deadline if they got both, depending on what you give up. Ralph said, I actually have no idea how good Williams is. I've seen him play twice. Neither game was impressive. Go watch the 2022 Celtics playoff run. 24 seconds said, yes, I would trade Mann. Do not even care for who. Runner Flash said, how do you expect someone to magically get healthy if we trade for him when Williams has been injured most of this season? I don't think it's just him being injured. I think some of this is just Portland. They're in tank mode. He's literally better and more impactful out there than DeAndre Ayton is when he's on the court. Rugby said, I think Robert Williams is a good idea because Zubats could get into foul trouble versus Jokic in the playoffs. F said, I'm so certain Mann will ball out in the backcourt role for a different team if we trade him. Well, that's great if he does. I'd be rooting for him. But if he's not playing on the Clippers, what does it matter? If he can play for some other team and actually get minutes versus not playing on the Clippers, okay. You shouldn't have much Seller's remorse. 24 seconds said the reality is that Mann is getting paid the 5th most and is battling to be the 9th man. You're not lying. Tim A said Brogdon is also an interesting guy on the buyout for sure. He's got injury issues. He's played below 20 games so far this season. 24 seconds said the problem, it's going to be hard to trade Mann because of his new contract. I think it's still a tradable contract. I still think outside teams value him. Maybe not to the point of they'll give up Fred VanVleet like a couple of years ago, but I don't think his value has dipped so much because of his lack of play this season or the contract. Jacob said Luka takes. All right. F said unrelated, but did you know Zach Collins got 2-year, $35 million contract and the Bulls happily took him? You know why they took him? Because that's what it takes to get rid of Zach LaVine's contract. Quentin said, hey, Adam, I saw you're changing your stance on trading for Jimmy Butler. Why is that, Adam? I haven't really changed it. I'm not trading Kawhi for him, like you said. I'm saying if you don't have to give up much, sure, why not? If they can get so little for Jimmy Butler, I'd be interested. But I don't think I'd do it I'm not doing it and giving him another contract like he's going to want. So I don't think it's going to happen, Quentin. Rugby said Zach Collins is on a crazy contract, laughing my ass off. ZTV said we could go after Kelly Olynyk or Chris Boucher. They could. Rugby said Torrey Craig waived. Why has Torrey Craig only played 9 games this season, guys? Miles Johnson said AD and Gafford, Jaren and Edey, Chet and Isaiah Hartenstein, Jokic. We need to get Zoo some support. Guys, there's some beef in front courts in the Western Conference. If you think Zach Edey, or if you think Drew Eubanks is good enough to hold it down as the backup to Zoo, okay, maybe he will be. But I know a healthy Robert Williams, that lets you compete against any front court. Jacob said Kelly Olynyk is softer than sliced bread in a swimming pool. F said, same, I have notifications on and I still have to search for you. Really? I get a banner and you're not on my homepage ever. Is there something I need to switch up on my side, guys? Let me know. I'm a noob. Just a straight casual here on YouTube. I think I've only been doing it for 4 months. Josh said, don't even know what to say anymore. The next 3 days might be chaos. Laughing my ass off. Blue also says, laughing my ass off. Chris G said, how about T-Mann and Brown for Mitchell? For who? Donovan Mitchell? Jacob Genesis, why would you want to keep Kawhi? It depends on what you're giving me for Kawhi. Everyone's on the table for me. But I'd rather have him than Jimmy Butler because with Kawhi, if he's healthy, you have a chance versus even if Jimmy Butler is healthy, you don't have a chance to come out of the West. Howard said, are you willing to trade our pick for a decent player? If yes, to which player? Which pick? Their first round pick? What do you consider a decent player? Wise said, you say that, but what team wants to pay a supermax for? Oh my God. It's amazing to me that people are such casuals about the Dallas Mavericks that they keep saying, well, Luka doesn't play any defense. I'm old enough to remember a possession against the Clippers in the playoffs last year where he locked up Kawhi Leonard. And more importantly, that wasn't the real Kawhi Leonard. I get it. He's capable, first of all. Second of all, the Dallas Mavericks, after the trade deadline last season, I believe had the #1 defensive rating in the league. And that is with Luka and Kyrie starting. So if you can still have the #1 defensive rating in the league with Luka Doncic and make a run to the finals because you're really good defensively, how much do his defensive deficiencies really hurt you? 24 seconds said, to be honest, would rather trade for Herder than keep Mann. They're not trading Nico, I would assume. Wayne said, couldn't we have traded for Luka or AD? I don't think so. They don't have an AD to trade along with their first-round pick. Those teams weren't going to take Kawhi because of his injury history. Lizio said Robert Williams was a key contributor during the Celtics finals run in 2022 as their main rim protector for them while playing hurt. Let's see. Josh Perez said, guards I like that we can potentially sign. Denny Adbia, Lonnie Walker, Dennis Smith Jr., Lonzo, Brogdon. The Clippers are going to do some work in the buyout market. I'm pretty certain of that. F said, I don't get why they trade PJ before seeing what happens with Jimmy. Because the likelihood of Jimmy coming to the Clippers is so minute. You're trying to get off of PJ's contract to get under. You understand, guys? They got $4 million under the luxury tax by doing that move. That was the main reason for doing it, not getting Drew Eubanks. That's something, but that's not the main reason. On a scale of 1 to 10, do you see the Clippers making another trade by Thursday? I'll go 8 or 9. I don't know if it's going to be the trade that you guys are thinking it could be or some huge move, but Bones Highland plus KPJ for Valanciunas. I don't think that's enough money involved, nor do I think Washington would do it. Malcolm said, we just have to wait and see what happens, but the main thing is that we have to get back to playing consistent defense, passing the ball side to side, and keep the turnovers low and rebound. Coach Malcolm Maxwell. Alfredo said, I just can't see Clippers making any trades. Players they have are too important and vital. They're going for the buyout market or converting a two-way 10-day contracts maybe. I think they're going to try to get a two-way player signed to a standard contract, and that's Jordan Miller, which means Patty Mills could be bought out. While we have a moment here, I do want to remind you guys that Clippers Talk is brought to you by Underdog Fantasy. Underdog Fantasy is the easiest way to play fantasy sports, and it's available in over 30 states. All you got to do is pick higher or lower on your favorite player stats or least favorite player stats if you want to hate, and you can win up to 100 times your money. Make picks, win money, and I got a free promo code for you guys. This will give new users a free pick and up to $1,000 in bonus cash. The promo code is LAC, and you can find it and the referral link in the description down below in this very episode. Then you just go to underdogfantasy.com. Go there, pick higher or lower on those stats, like points per game, assists, rebounds, and that's how you can win. It is that simple. Make picks, win money. Josh said, I wish we had the assets to get Kuzma. We don't, though. Probably not. That guy Spencer said, how is it the Lakers can just get players like it's 2K? I really am curious. Well, that's a question for the Dallas Mavericks, and specifically Nico Harrison. I'm anti-Mavs forever now. Rugby analyst said, Man, Bones, and KPJ for Isaiah Stewart. I don't know if they do that. I mean, maybe they. F said, can't wait for the trades to be going down during Thursday's stream. Live Adam reactions. Yeah, we will be live on Thursday. Ralph said, I hated KPJ at the beginning of the season, but he's been all right. He plays hard at least. He's gotten better. F said, Torrey Craig and Chris Duarte waived by the Bulls. Torrey Craig has good numbers, but he's only played 9 games. Let's see. Jonathan Ing just got in on this chat. What is the Bulls' appetite to cut Lonzo if they haven't done it yet? I'm surprised they didn't cut him after the trade. Yeah, I thought maybe he would be cut loose. Apparently they think they can get a second for him. Probably can. And if he doesn't get bought out, I don't know if the Clippers can get him. Yeah, the Clippers have advantages in the buyout market, guys. They have more money they can give up. And some teams can't even go after the same guys that they have access to. Josh said, yeah, the trade exemption is interesting because of the rules regarding the exemption. Would have to be a 1-for-1, no. I might get my friend Eric Pincus on, who's a capologist, at some point, maybe later this week after the trade deadline. Torrey Craig would be a good addition to our 6-7 collection. Can somebody tell me why Torrey Craig has only played 9 games this season? He was just out of the rotation. That's what Rugby's saying. Bulls playing young guys. Okay. Goofy said, please no Robert Williams. I don't want another injury-prone player that could easily get injured and defeat the purpose of giving Zoo rest. As opposed to a healthy player that's not going to play anyways in Terance Mann, if the rest of the team's healthy. If they're not, I don't think he's saving you. Rugby said, Craig completely out of the... Just read that, Adam, you dumbass. ZTV said, I'll even see if the Pacers offer up Miles Turner in exchange so the Lakers don't get him next. They probably are. Well, they're getting somebody. Do they really need another backup point guard, guys? Joss said, I think he meant Mitchell Robinson, which, yeah, that won't happen. Gotcha. Let's see. Get Bertans, Rob Williams, Torrey Craig to round out the bench. KPJ, Bones, Man gone. Jonathan Ings said, I second the desire for Kawhi over Jimmy Butler. Jimmy Butler has been a locker room cancer wherever he has gone and did scorched earth to his teams. Yeah, he got burned himself. He's only hurt himself here. Mutually assured annihilation. Let's see. Nick Z said, I like Drew, and I think he's comparable to Time Lord. Really? Drew Eubanks is comparable to Time Lord? By what measurement? That is just false. Joss said, wonder if Capella will be available. I wouldn't hate getting Capella either. I've been telling everybody the entire time, it's as simple as the Mavericks and Nico Harrison were completely fed up and done with Luka, while at the same time having an infatuation with Anthony Davis. That's how a trade like that happens. They were hating Luka. They love the idea of Anthony Davis. That's how it happens. Yeah, Cam Johnson is available. How are the Clippers going to get him? Miles Johnson said, how would you feel about Obi Toppin? Heard he's been available. Sure, for the right guy. Yeah, can I get a few more likes here, guys? It really helps. They don't ask for much. I've only been doing this for 121 straight days. Woe is me. Wise said, oh God. Mavs didn't make a mistake trading away some dude who doesn't stay in shape or play defense to a supermax. Okay, bro. What does he have? 5 All-NBA first teams at the age of 25? Luka is at worst a top 5 player in this league. To give him up for that trade package, if you're wondering why people are freaking out about it, like why probably is, I mean, it might mean you don't know ball. Luka is him. Like, out of shape Luka is still great. Hurt Luka in the playoffs last year, still great. F said, will be nice to give Jordan a remainder of year contract to get him some money before he signs a 2-way next year. I see what you're saying. Get Jordan Miller signed to a standard contract, convert the 2-way. Lizio said, people really think the Clippers are going to shop KPJ. We gave him a 2-year guaranteed deal. I think the second year is a player option. Players that were in his situation don't get this type of deal unless the front office is high on him and he's only 24. They seem to be committed. Jonathan Ings said, Rodriguez, the Clippers can capitalize on a multi-team trade to help facilitate. L. Frank isn't done cooking something up. It's basically what Chicago did. They got in on the trade to help the Spurs and Kings, and out of it, they got rid of Lonzo Ball's loaded contract. Not Lonzo Ball's, Zach LaVine's. Different Z. What NBA coach? It's like pretty much every, especially JJ Redick, who played with him. Ralph said, I don't understand why people are upset about the Lakers getting Luka. Yeah, he's 25, but he's 270 at 25. I guess the messaging from the Dallas Mavericks is working because the propaganda has infiltrated Ralph here. Maybe he does have some health issues, but when healthy, top 5 player, he just was in the NBA Finals. Yabusele is available because I don't think they can afford to keep him, but I don't know if the Clippers can afford to get him. Josh said Drew Eubanks is the most punchable face in sports. How dare you? That's our new Clipper. John said we just signed T-Mann to a new contract last summer, Adam. Tough to let him go. Not after seeing him not play much this season. He's not going to in a playoff series unless guys are hurt or just abysmal out there. So you can hold on to a guy that's not going to play much. I would say you should probably look at what's out there for a guy that actually would play more for your team than Terance Mann is going to when they're healthy. And even when he has been playing, he hasn't been great this season. Don't know if you noticed. Yeah, executives are furious with the Mavericks. It probably screwed the Kings some, getting less for their deal for De'Aaron Fox because the Luka Doncic deal set the market. Would I trade Harden? I'll trade anybody for the right move. It's funny. Why? People said the same thing about Nikola Jokic. He's out of shape and he doesn't play defense. So I guess we're 2 years removed from a player winning the championship. I'll wait. It didn't take me long. Compliments only said Harden, Norm, Kawhi, DJ, Zeus, CP3, or Malcolm. Okay, I can't even read all this. Rugby said, I don't think you can get a guaranteed contract, then go back to being a two-way on the same team. I don't think so either. Why just keep spamming? I'm putting him in timeout. Like he's just got a one-track mind. Yeah, Redick has been teammates with Luka. Why do I let Y post in here? Josh said, bro, I hate this 270S. Luka is 6'8". For comparison, Aaron Judge plays 150 baseball games a year at 290. He ain't 290, is he? People act like Luka can't get back to 240-ish within a month or two. The Luka Revenge Tour, for all this slander coming his way, is going to be nasty, guys. He's going to destroy some teams, not just the Mavs. I wouldn't say Jokic has been in really good shape. He's still doughy, but he's in basketball shape. The thing with Jokic is he just has amazing cardio. He's got the lungs. That's something innate that Jokic has. That's his advantage. You get in a series with Denver, you might play 43 minutes per game. You might need more than just Ivica Zubac and Drew Eubanks to go against him. I'm telling you guys, I think a healthy Robert Williams, which is a risk, but I think it would be worth the risk because if he's healthy, he can really help you. If Terance Mann is healthy, how much can he really help you if he's not playing anyways? Chances T-Mann gets traded by Thursday. I love T-Mann. I don't want to see him go, but it could happen. It's a business. And I think you'd have to think about it if Portland would give up Robert Williams. Maybe they won't. They see Williams as far too valuable. I could understand that. But I'm talking about a hypothetical here. Chances he gets traded by Thursday? I'll say 30% chance. Terance Mann gets traded. Ralph said, whoever just compared baseball to basketball hasn't played any sport ever. That guy Spencer said, when's the last time a team has won without a homegrown star besides the bubble? I get we want to win, but I really think we got to develop players. I mean, I could think of a time right off the bat. Right off the bat. Kawhi with the Raptors. That guy Spencer. This isn't that hard. ZTV said, would it be better to go after a Jeremy Sohan or Jonathan Kuminga, who the Warriors were going to trade us? They weren't going to trade the Clippers. Kuminga wasn't on the table for Paul George. That's why the Clippers didn't do it. Tim Kawakami and his reporting was coming from the Warriors camp. It wasn't true. Venkata said apparently Billups really likes Mann. I mean, that's my guess. Jonathan Ing said T-Mann hasn't helped himself by not playing up to the expectations we had of him. The new guys signed have outplayed him. All things I've said over the last hour. Amir was lower on the depth chart in prior years and has outplayed T-Mann. Oh, he was pretty far below Terance Mann to start this season on the depth chart. And now he's the first guy coming off the bench. Mann was starting. He was starting to start off this season. Mio said, do you give any credence to the rumors Dallas is lobbying for a casino stadium and that's why the trade was made? I don't think so. I don't know why the GM would care about that. Like, he's going to lose his job if this doesn't go well. Why would he care? They're going to look out for him. Nico Harrison? They're going to cut him a deal? I don't think so. Josh said, Ralph Clawler, my last high school basketball game was against Kawhi Leonard. I think you better check yourself. Uh-oh. We got beef in the chat. We're beefing in the chat. Let me read some of the responses to my tweet here from the question I put out for this episode. Would you trade T-Mann? MJ Jones said, if the Luka trade can happen, I think the only correct answer is it depends for what. And you'd have to say that for anyone on the team. Wouldn't be surprised if we get through the deadline only having done a small deal for Bones, though. I agree with that. I wouldn't be shocked by that. Somebody else said, GH said, why not? Would you trade Mann? He said, why not? Brandon said, Douche. I know he worked for the Sporting Tribune. He said, Mann has become way too passive. For example, in the Celtics-Clippers game where Norm, James, Kawhi, and Zoo all say he had the opportunity to go get 20 and he just wouldn't attack. One dribble, two dribble, pass, back out, scared to score. Dub said in a heartbeat for a big. I don't know what Bones in a second is getting you because Bones only makes like $3.5 million or something. So Alfredo said, which teams will be hurt by Lakers and Spurs trades? What I mean is teams whose chances at a deep playoff run might get thwarted by James and Doncic or Fox and Wemby. I think the Rockets, I mean, anybody, those teams are better. If you're playing those teams in a playoff series now, I could see the argument of, well, the Lakers aren't necessarily better. What about the fit with Luka and LeBron? I'm not worried about that. They're two high IQ basketball players. They'll figure it out. And the entire argument of the Lakers got worse defensively. First of all, they haven't been that good defensively. Second of all, they're still going to get a big man, the Lakers. They're not done. Every team in the playoffs is worse if those two teams are in. Spurs are still out of the play-in right now. But every team is worse off if they're facing the Lakers with Luka and LeBron and whoever they get for the big, or the Spurs with Wemby and Fox. I mean, that's the obvious answer, but I'm sorry, it's kind of an obvious question. Ron said, which Clipper do you definitely see traded on Thursday? I don't see anyone definitely traded, but Bones is the most likely to be traded. Jonathan said, Rodriguez, I think Spurs are on the OKC trajectory right now. They will be a contender either next year or the year after that. That's what I've been saying since this trade went down. The Spurs now are the next team to have a huge window of time to win a championship because they still have a ton of assets and they can go out and get another guy, a good player. They didn't give up Devin Vassell or Castle or Johnson or their best first-round picks. The Spurs are in a very close position, I think, to OKC now when it comes to time frame of winning a championship. I said it the other day. The Kings created another OKC by doing that trade. I think they did miserably with what they got back, but they were miserable with the way they handled the De'Aaron Fox situation the entire time. Kings were a disaster. They were lucky to get him at the 5 in the draft, drafting him 5th. And after all the bad drafts the Kings had where they missed, they finally had someone land and fall in their lap. And this is what happens: disaster. Utter incompetence. I'm from Sacktown, so I can be hard on them. Everybody should be. I like Zach LaVine. I think they're not significantly worse this season, but they are when it comes to building for the future and trying to build a contender. The dirty little secret about the Kings is the problem is Sabonis. He has fatal flaws. He caps your ceiling. You look at the numbers, oh, this guy's great. Why wasn't he an all-star? Well, he doesn't impact winning enough because your defense is never going to be great with Sabonis. You're never going to be a top 10 defense unless you find a stretch big that you can put next to him. And those guys are hard to find. Timothy said, sources tell the Inquirer that the Atlanta Hawks and Golden State Warriors have expressed interest in acquiring George ahead of Thursday's 3 p.m. trade deadline. Paul George? Why I said why I get a timeout for having an opinion wasn't cussing. Okay, let me explain. You keep coming in here in all caps and spamming. Why? Could you just turn off the all caps? Could you stop saying the same thing over and over again about Luka Doncic that is pretty much proven to be false already? Jonathan put it differently. Your opinion is awful casual stuff. That's why. Why? ZTV said, if I was Lawrence Frank, I would actually see which teams give me a first-round draft pick or however many so we can build for the future. Since this is a younger league, we can draft a big man we need. I mean, Zoo's only 27, but I see your point. There is an argument to be made that the Clippers shouldn't be trying to contend right now, that they should trade Norman Powell and get a first-round pick. If you're thinking long-term, and you think they have no chance of contending this season, then yeah, they probably should do that. But I think they're trying to thread the needle and have 1 foot in, 1 foot out with looking towards the future while still saying, if things broke our way and Kawhi is healthy, we have a chance to contend. And that's what makes things difficult. But I'm glad Lawrence Frank is the guy in charge, especially when you see something like what the Mavs just did. Access Entertainment Productions said, I would trade him if he is traded for a player that is more efficient by the numbers. It's kind of a bot response, but Adam's saying, bye-bye Kawhi, please. See, for the people saying, well, then they should trade Kawhi. It's like, I don't know if you're getting a first-round pick or a lot of good young pieces and parts for Kawhi right now. You're going to sell him for pennies on the dollar. And what if Kawhi stays healthy for a playoff run? You feel like you can beat anyone. What else do we got here? Appreciate you guys in the chat. It's been a good conversation. We've been doing this for an hour and a half now. I got to throw it out there. When I see Terance Mann playing very few minutes while there's guys injured, I'm wondering how many minutes he's actually going to get when they're healthy or in a playoff run where you're down to an 8-man rotation. So I'm thinking about what's the most you could get for Mann. Because let me tell you, if Robert Williams was healthy, you're not getting him for Terance Mann because he's that good. Robert Williams is a risk, and the only reason he's available to you for Terance Mann maybe is because he's a risk with his health. But the upside is huge and really upgrades your ceiling for this playoff run. If Robert Williams is healthy in a playoff run, I mean, there's nobody you can't match up with. Really. He's that good. So, yeah, I'd take a swing on it for a guy who's not playing anyways. If it doesn't work out with Robert Williams, he's an expiring $12 million player next season if he can't stay healthy. Like, what is the real downside here? Terance Mann turns into that player we thought he could be with another team. Well, he's not playing with the Clippers anyway, so he's not going to get that opportunity here. Timothy said, I'm not trading anyone because I don't think anyone we could possibly get is enough for us to win a ring, and Mann's value is all-time low right now. I'm telling you, I think a healthy Robert Williams really increases your ceiling. I think it's significant. And the only reason you'd be able to get a player like that is because, for Terance Mann, is because of the injury issue. I understand. Who else we got here? Jonathan and Y are arguing. Jonathan, you're better than this. You ain't got to argue with that guy. I know I'm looking myself in the mirror, but Timothy said, I don't think Adam saw that Blazers is asking for too much from Time Lord. Maybe they are. Maybe it's Mann in a second. They've made trades with them in the past. Chauncey Billups is there. He knows Terance Mann. I don't think it's that crazy of an idea. The contracts are very close. Ross said T-Man for either of the Raptors bigs. That's fair too. You talking about Boucher and Kelly Olynyk? I think that could be real since they were interested in Mann before for Fred VanVleet. What would you guys think about that? Joss said, I'd take a chance on Nurkic in the buyout market if he wasn't runner-up for worst teammate of 2025. Timothy said, the Portland Trail Blazers are openly shopping. So he posted something here. Are openly shopping Jeremy Grant, Anthony Simons, and DeAndre Ayton. Blazers open to trading Robert Williams III, but they have a high price for him. Where is this coming from? And they might feel like Terance Mann is a good get for him because they have actual minutes to give him, unlike the Clippers. Powell and Mann for KD. The Suns aren't doing that. Raul said, let's chip in and get Adam a new hoodie or at least a patch to cover his holy elbow. This is kind of my post-workout hoodie. I just throw it on for comfort. But yeah, it's dinged up. Quentin said the Clips and Lakers have been trade partners in history. Sure. When the Clippers swindled them for Zubats. See, Magic Johnson probably doesn't even make the trade for Luka Doncic. You're probably like, no, we got to hold on to AD. I can't give up AD and this first round pick. It's too much. That was a Blazers insider that said that. You just never know. There's so many smoke screens this time of year. Teams posturing, trying to drive up prices. It's impossible to know. Thank you, Raul, for the $2 new hoodie fund. I'll take whatever I can get. I see Jovan making a ton. He joined us last week or a couple of weeks ago. Quentin said, what if the Lakers offered AR-15, Christian Wood, Rui, and 2 first-round picks for Big Zoo? Oh, my guy. Can somebody help Quentin here? He is kind of the Magic Johnson of the Adams family. Venkata said, any way we can get Anthony Simons for Powell and Mann? No. They can't get him for Powell and Mann. A young player like that who's a flamethrower. That Mexican Nara said, do the Clippers have a roster spot or do they need to trade away or waive players for the buyout market? They don't have an open roster spot. They just trade two guys for two guys. Mo Bamba and PJ Tucker for Drew Eubanks and Patty Mills. They'd have to buy somebody out. Somebody's saying Quentin's back. Quentin dared to pop up for air after literally saying Ivica Zubac only does well against bad centers after he's had 2020 games against Jaren Jackson Jr., against AD, against Milwaukee. And he also said Zubac only dunks. Just complete casual stuff. I'm sorry, Quentin, but that was some of the worst opinions I've ever heard. Malcolm Maxwell said, now he's saying Big Zoo is our most valuable asset after trashing Big Zoo before. All he does is dunk. You can't do it against good teams. Yeah, go look at some of the teams he's had 2020s against. Timothy said, why Clippers fans refuse to accept to be fun and competitive? Why the obsession over a big move? A lot of people do love this team this season, but everybody gets into trade season. Everybody gets excited for trade season. I understand it. I've entertained a lot more stuff than I normally would in here because it's that time of the year. But I won't entertain the trade that Quentin just put out there, which was preposterous. But hey, he's been a Clippers fan for a long time, so he has seniority, he thinks. Venkata said, T-Man, Batum, Bones, and Coffee for Jeremy Grant. I don't want Jeremy Grant's contract. And I don't think Portland would do that. But, guys, Jeremy Grant makes a ton of money. I don't know. A healthy Robert Williams raises your ceiling more than Jeremy Grant, I think, honestly. And it's not going to cost nearly as much. And Jeremy Grant's making like $35 million over what, the next 4 years? That's who you want to go all in on with when the Clippers are going to have cap room. You're going to give it up to Jeremy Grant instead? He's not even, I don't think he's not a number 2 on a championship team. So he makes $32 million next year, $34 million the year after that, a player option for $36 after that. That's not the guy I'm going with. He's a nice player, but the contract just kills that situation for me. So somebody on Twitter said, that's at my SD Clippers, said, the Clippers need to get Lonzo away from Chicago or Monk from Sacramento. Good luck with getting Monk away. And Robert Williams III from Portland would be sweet. I've been a huge man backer, but yeah, he would have to be a part of a deal. Big Ben said something not so nice on Twitter. I would trade him for a bottle of water and a high five. You can't just give him away. Quinn said, what would you do if the Clips trade Big Zoo? Seriously? Well, if they trade him, they probably got a lot for him because he's like the backbone of the team and the defense and the most reliable player they've had. He's only 27, so I just assume they're getting a lot for him. But the Clippers front office is not that dumb. They wouldn't do that. This isn't what the Mavericks did with Luka. They swindled the Lakers to get Big Zoo. They had the vision to know how good Big Zoo was. The Lakers probably have like 2 more championships and one outside the bubble if they just didn't give up on Ivica Zubac. And they got AD with Big Zoo next to him. Joss said Mavs Lakers trade has now made every dumb transaction in the trade machine plausible. I hate everybody. That's the worst part of it. Timothy said, I'm simply not trading any picks or valuable assets till we have enough salary cap to get a superstar. Well, yeah, if you're bringing in a guy who's going to take up salary cap. Quentin said, saving all this cap room for players who won't even be available, like Luca, make it make sense. You don't know who's going to be available and who won't be. You don't know who's going to be a disgruntled star in the future. You stay flexible and stay ready over bringing in guys who aren't going to win you a championship anyways. Jeremy Grant's not going to win them one. Ross said the Clippers are in a great situation right now to make a large impact this offseason. L. Frank is not going to jeopardize that unless it is for a sure thing for years to come. Well, I don't know about that. Unless James Harden leaves and opts out, they don't have a ton of cap room. Venkata said Cam Thomas to Clippers. Lakers get Nick Claxton, Rui Hachimura, Gabe Vincent, and Bones, and 3 firsts to the Nets. You're giving up a first to get Cam Thomas? I wouldn't do that. Josh said, newsflash, we don't have any valuable assets to trade. Ray said, join late, so I'm going to rewind. Salute, Clipper Nation. We got this. Ray's a regular. It is better to stay patient with cap room in the chance that a big superstar becomes available rather than go all in with cap room and you use it up on guys who aren't making you a contender anyways, Quentin. Jonathan Ng makes a good point. Luka wasn't available until he was traded and nobody knew. This trade cycle means nothing is off the table. So you want to waste cap room on guys that don't make you a contender? Why would you do that? Why would you give up assets for guys who aren't putting you over the top anyways? I'm saying Terance Mann for Robert Williams. Well, you're not giving up that much because Terance Mann isn't playing. And if the only way he's playing is if somebody else gets hurt, well, if somebody else gets hurt, Terance Mann is not exactly going to save the day or keep you a contender. That Mexican Nara said, can Nico do us a favor and trade us Gafford for peanuts? I don't think they're going to do that because their model is to have a big front court, and right now Lively is injured. Quentin is impossible to explain anything to. I just explained it. Some people get it. Bonesaw says preach on Adam. Some people like Quentin they got their fingers in their ears doing the Dumb and Dumber thing. I've already explained it, Quentin. Apparently it always goes over your head. ZTV said one free agent I would look at is LaMelo Ball instead of Alonzo. Free agent? Free agent. Free agent. You just called LaMelo Ball a free agent. He just signed a 5-year deal for $200 million. Somebody asked earlier, why don't you bring fans on as like correspondents or whatever on here and have a panel with people in the chat? It's like, this is why. So we can get a whole bunch of misinformation. LaMelo Ball is like in year 1 of a 5-year deal. They got their fingers somewhere, said Bonesaw. Oh my God. Quinn cannot, like, some people can't juggle 2 things at the same time. Like they can't reason through it. Robert Williams is an injury prone player. No shit. Thanks, Quentin. That's the reason you have a possibility of getting him for Terance Mann is because he's injury prone. Because when he's healthy, he's a much better player. And my point is, if he's healthy, he raises your ceiling. If Mann is healthy, he might not even be playing, depending on who else is healthy on the Clippers. Do you not see the difference? Y'all are killing me. No, really, it's just Quentin. Adam gets frustrated too easy when he's wrong. You've yet to explain how I'm wrong. It's a low-risk move, Quentin. Quentin's comprehension is at an all-time low. Like, maybe he's just a troll. I don't know. He says he's like a Clippers fan since the 80s or something like that. So he either just isn't that knowledgeable of the game and how things work, or he's just trolling. It's one or the other. I don't know who I'm talking to on here. I don't know who's real and who's not. Quentin, nobody agrees with you ever. I hope you're a troll. Next, it gets said, I would rather have an injury pro player like Robert than man who won't play. That is the point. Even if Terance Mann is healthy, he's only playing if other guys are out now. If Robert Williams is healthy, he is playing and he is helping significantly. He can make a huge impact for this team. Dwight Howard wasn't that good the last time he was in the league. He comes with baggage. I have met Jonathan Ng. He's a real person. I met him in San Diego, preseason, Clippers, Nets game. Confirmed, verified, trusted, and as the best takes in here. This is what Quentin likes to do. I don't know if he's a troll. I don't know if he's a real person. He says, I'm 52 years old, been a Clippers fan before anyone in here, including you. Congrats. I mean, that's awesome. But it doesn't mean that your basketball takes are very good. I appreciate you being a fan that long. Yes, that Mexican Nara. If they can get Lonzo in the buyout market, I would encourage it too. I've been talking about it for weeks. But he didn't get bought out yet, and they might be able to get a second for him. So would you give up a second for Lonzo? A second and bones for Lonzo? But how much is Lonzo making still to make that work? That's why he could still get bought out. I need to see Lonzo Ball's contract here. Because, yeah, he signed a 4-year, $80 million one, so he's making $21 million. So here's the problem. You can't just say, I'll give him a second. You got to make that salary work. That's going to be difficult. I don't think you want to give up Terance Mann for Lonzo, but maybe. Yeah, I mean, it's the same kind of logic. He's injury prone. He can help you if he's healthy. Yeah, I'd think about it. Yeah. Do the Clippers waive Patty? I think that's a distinct possibility to convert Jordan Miller to a two-way contract, or if they bring in somebody else. ZTV said, my mistake. I meant to trade for Melo since he wasn't going to be a free agent and exchange Kawhi and T-Mann since LeVar does want him in LA, and that would make things better for us long term. Like, why do you think the Charlotte Hornets would do that? Yeah, I don't. I've only given a 30% chance that they trade Terance Mann. I think it's less likely. I don't think it's more likely than not they don't trade him. I'm throwing out a hypothetical based upon how he's been used this season, who he's become as a player, how he's looked in particular this year. He's not playing enough minutes. And if I could get Robert Williams and that lottery ticket, that if Robert Williams is healthy, it really helps your ceiling, I would do it. Because I don't think you're losing much when he's not playing anyways. Yeah, I would probably do it for Lonzo too. Like, now that I saw this contract's $20 million, you're going to have to give up him and Bones Highland in a second. I would probably do it. But the other side is he's expiring, and then you're losing man for a rental. I don't know if that's good asset management either, Jonathan. If you can get his bird rights, I don't know if you would have him with Lonzo, and then you could re-sign him. Yeah, the idea was getting Lonzo on a buyout. It's easy to say the Clippers can get him for a second-round pick. They have to match salary. He makes $20 million. How are you matching salary? And guys, they have 1 second and 1 first at their disposal. So that second's a little bit more important to the Clippers since they only have one of them. Oh, it's just a second round pick, Adam. What's that going to do for you? Well, they only have one. Chris Boucher just doesn't have the size. Did you watch him with the Raptors? He's thin as a rail. I like him. If they can get him for the right price, I'm all for it. Yeah, the Bulls would have to buy somebody else out, but they just did it with two guys. They might have somebody else they'd buy out. Yeah, I put a 30% chance on T-Mann being traded. I'm just presenting my logic of why I'd do it for Robert Williams, even though I love T-Mann. If Robert Williams is right, he really gives you a shot to get out of the West if you're healthy. If Terance Mann is right and you're healthy, he's not playing. He's not in the rotation, in the playoff rotation. So what are you losing? I know. In a buyout, you don't have to match salary. But it sounds like Lonzo's not being bought out currently. They want a second round pick for him. Guys, they are going to be players in the buyout market. That's for sure. Even Y got that right. ZTV said Kawhi and Mann would make the Charlotte Hornets a contender in the East since Kawhi is actually better over there and T-Man makes the bench better for them. Guys, they're not trading LaMelo, their future, the reason they sell tickets for an injury-prone Kawhi Leonard. I'm sorry, my guy. That is a complete non-starter for Charlotte. It's an absurd trade. No, the Clippers do not have 2 firsts that they can trade. You can't trade picks in consecutive years anymore, my guy. Chief. I don't know about that one, Chief. In fact, I do know about that one. You can't. They have 1 pick they can trade. I'm a real person, not a cat. Good reference. There's Tuca. T-Man must be traded. He is irrelevant. He's not irrelevant. He's just out. He's out of the rotation in a playoff rotation if the Clippers are healthy. So what are we doing? Waiting for next year? We might be used more. Okay. But if I can get the right guy that can play in a playoff rotation versus T-Man who won't be if they're healthy, I'm getting that guy. Yes, we've all made the joke. Anything can happen now because Luka was traded. It's one GM, one guy that would have done that move, and he happened to be the GM for the Mavericks in control of Luka Doncic. There's one guy that would have done that. Oh, I think the Clippers, if they could get LaMelo for Kawhi, they'd consider it. But Charlotte's not doing it. Jack said, now that the trade has happened, it has me wondering what team will be next to trade an insanely amazing young star for a guy. The reason, Jack, that this trade is so crazy is because these things don't ever happen. So betting on it happening again right after it happens for like the first time ever, a trade this stupid, isn't a good bet. Clippers do work in silence. Brogdon or Bruce Brown, sure. I like them both. And I thought it was going to be done a half hour ago. We just keep going here. I'd be surprised if they couldn't trade Bruce Brown. I'd be surprised if he ends up on the buyout market. Or they gave up stuff for him. I don't think they're giving him up for nothing. Yeah, that trade is a complete outlier that will probably never be replicated again, what happened with Luka. And for it to benefit the Lakers bothers the hell out of me. The Lakers luck. No team is copying that because Luka is a one-of-one player anyways. Like what? Jokic is going to be given up for what would you trade Jokic for? What's comparable to AD? For Embiid? They wouldn't do it. Josh Perez said, to be honest, if we don't make finals but Kawhi gets through healthy, sell high for everyone over 25. I mean, that's a different conversation. If Kawhi gets through a playoff run healthy, they don't win, would teams come calling then with 2 years left on his deal? Cross that bridge if we get there. Yeah, Bucks aren't going to panic sell Giannis. I'm interested in Torrey Craig, but why has he only played 9 games? People are saying it's because of the youth movement in Chicago. Yeah, NBA got their fever dream, Luka versus Tatum, which they also just got, in the NBA Finals. You mean Luka as a Laker versus Tatum as a Celtic? Because Luka literally just played Tatum. Mike said, thanks for your consistency, Adam. You are literally always on my YouTube timeline 24 hours a day. Feels like that right now. All right, I'm going to take a break. We'll see if anything materializes later tonight. If there's any big moves, regardless if it's Clippers or not, yeah, I'll probably come back on here. But my throat is thrashed, and I got to recharge myself. Appreciate you guys. We will talk soon. Believe that. Any move happens that's major in the NBA that could affect the Clippers indirectly, whatever, I'll be back up. This has been Clippers Talk once again, brought to you by Underdog Fantasy. Please like, please subscribe, and check out that Underdog Fantasy link in the description below. Talk to you guys soon, I'm certain.